Hi everybody, we are going to talk about the solutions to Skills Check 24A in this video. Number one was to find the measure of angle A in this triangle here. So what you should notice is that the three angles have algebraic expressions in them, and we know that the angles inside of a triangle always add to 180 degrees. So we're going to take each of these three angles and add them up, setting it equal to 180 degrees. So 2x plus 9 is angle C, 3x plus 5 is angle B, and 5x plus 6 is angle A. So you add those up and set it equal to 180. Now it is a matter of solving for x. So we're going to combine like terms, 2x, 3x, and 5x. And we're going to combine the 9, 5, and 6. So when we do that, we get 10x plus 20 is equal to 180. Then we're going to take 20 away from both sides. So we get 10x equals 160. And then we're going to divide both sides by 10 to get x by itself. So that gives us the value of x being 16. We're not done because we have to find the measure of angle A. So we're going to take this expression, 5x plus 6, and we're going to plug that 16 in for the x. So we have 5 times 16 plus 6, and that answer is 86. Moving on to number 2, we want to know which of these points is on the same line that has these 2 points on it. So one way to solve this would be to graph it, but these are such big numbers that it would probably be cumbersome or hard to draw a graph that big. So what I chose to do is make a table. So I put 10, 10 in my table, and I put 15, 25 in my table. And then I put all the numbers in between 10 and 15 that are integers. So our job is to figure out what these values over here are and see which of these points, if any, matches. So we're going to find the rate of change. So as you can see, from 10 to 25 is a change of 15 units. And from 10 to 15 is a change of 5 units. So the rate of change is that change in y over the change in x, 15 over 5. 15 over 5 is equal to 3. So that means that the rate of change is 3. And that tells us that every time x goes up 1, y goes up 3, which means 11, 13 is the next point, 12, 16, 13, 19, notice that these are all going up by 3 each time these are going up by 1. And finally, 14, 22. So we can see in this table that the point 11, 13 is on the graph. So that means that 11, 13 is the correct answer. Number 3 is a review of how to add in scientific notation. You have 2 choices here. One is to simply type this into the calculator as it is, remembering to include the parentheses. The other option is to convert to standard form first. So that's the method I'm going to show you here. So we have the original problem, and then we have to remember that that 5 means we're going to move the decimal point 5 places. So if I take this decimal that's between the 2 and the 1, and I move it 5 places, that's what my loops are for. Any loop that doesn't have anything in it is going to be filled with zeros. This 4 over here tells us that we're going to move the decimal point 4 places. So we have it between the 4 and the 3. We are going to move that 4 times over, so those are my 4 loops. any blank loop is filled with zeros. So this truly is the problem 210,000 plus 43,000. If we add those up, we get 253,000. Now that's not one of our options over here, so I'm going to convert back to scientific notation, which means I'm going to put the decimal point between the 2 and the 5. So that's what my arrow is there for. Here's my decimal point originally, and I want to move it so that it's between that 2 and the 5. So since I moved it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 places, that's why my exponent should be 5. And my correct answer is B. In number 4, if you can't remember the shortcut on what to do with all these exponents, we can go ahead and write them out the long way. So 3 squared to the third means we have 3 squared times 3 squared times 3 squared. And then I have that times 3 to the 6th there. And on the bottom I have 3 to the 4th. Then the next thing I'm going to do is write out all of those 3's the long way. So it looks like this. Now if I look at that and I count up all the 3's that I have, that becomes 3 to the 12th on top and 3 to the 4th on bottom. So that should tell you that E is one of the correct answers. Notice the directions say select all that apply. So I want to make sure I cover all of these and select all of the ones that are equal to the original. Now, if I cross out the 3's that they have in common. Okay, so there are 4 3's on the bottom, so I'm going to get rid of 4 3's on the top. I'm kind of dragging those over there. So if I get rid of 4 3's on top, this is what I have left. And how many 3's do we have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that should tell you that 3 to the 8th is correct as well. So 3 to the 7th, 3 to the 3rd, those are definitely out. And then 3 to the 11th, we had 12 of them up here when we had 4 of them on the bottom. So that means that D would not be correct as well. All right, number 5 asks which are linear functions. So linear means it's going to be a straight line. Because of that, we can put a big old X through that one and a big old X through that one, since those two are not linear. These two are linear because they're straight lines. So now we have to think of the word function. A function means that that graph has to pass a vertical line test. So here I have my vertical line. I'm going to cross the grid with it. And if my graph touches it more than once, which here it actually touches it an infinite amount of times, that means this one's not a function. So we're going to put a big old X there. If I use my vertical line test down here, I can see that my graph of the black line only touches the red line once every time I move it over. So that means that this is the correct answer. Number 6 asks you to identify the growth rate and the y-intercept for this equation. So in order to do that, we want to first put it into y equals mx plus b form, and that will help us identify the growth rate and the y-intercept. So if I have this equation here, I copied it over here, I want to get the y by itself, which means I want to take away the 4x from both sides. When I do that, I am left with 2y on the left, and I'm left with negative 4x because I cannot combine these, plus 12. And as you can see, my next step is going to be division, we want to get the y by itself, so I need to divide both sides by 2, which means I take each part and divide it by 2. So this ends up to be y, this ends up to be negative 2x, and this ends up to be 6. So that is my equation in y equals mx plus b form. The m, which is right here, is our growth rate, and the b, which is here, is the y-intercept. So that means that the correct answer is C. For number 7, you need to make sure that you read the problem carefully. 2 quadrilaterals are shown. One is created by reflecting the other across a line and then rotating it. So because we are dealing with reflections and rotations, that means that the 2 figures are congruent. And that means corresponding angles are congruent and corresponding sides are congruent. So I have some highlights here. We are asked to find the measure of x. So x is right here, which is the side EF. That's why I highlighted EF right here. And this highlight here matches the first 2 letters here. So therefore, whatever EF is equal to whatever AB is. So if you look over here, AB is 6. That means EF also has to be 6. And we are on our last problem now. What is the rate of change in the table below? So if you recall, rate of change is that change in y over the change in x. So we have our loops ready to go here. So from 6 to 10 is plus 4, 10 to 14 is plus 4, and 14 to 18 is plus 4. Over on the x's, from 2 to 4 is 2, 4 to 6 is 2, and 6 to 8 is 2. So we have plus 2's on that. So that means the change in y in the change over the change in x is 4 over 2, which equals 2. And that is your answer. So the rate of change of 2 means every time the x goes up 1, the y goes up 2. I hope this video helped you out.